who are the donors versus the profile of those who are recipients varies. As you might intuit, the better donors are the younger, smaller individuals who have died an abrupt death, trauma, been victims of assault, some other tragic circumstance. Many times those are people that come from an urban community, those are people that are non-white, those are people who have had a tragedy befall them. Many of those that are waiting for transplantation are white or have access to health care or don't reflect the population in whom the donors are derived. And so everybody is working very carefully to, on the one hand, raise donor awareness so we have more hearts available, and on the other hand, to be very proactive in bringing forward candidates for heart transplantation, for all solid organ transplantation, that really reflect the population. And I think many good faith efforts are undergoing to make that work. But I'll go back for a second time to a theme I opened up with. As much as I am a fan of heart transplantation, and I've been directly involved in such literally for nearly 20 years now, it still is incumbent upon me to share with you that the best treatment, even for advanced heart disease, is to never get to that point. So this prevention theme that I'm anxious for you to get to continues to be just something that's very, very important for me.
I do have one question on, we talked about young people who unfortunately die an unfortunate death, and their hearts are made available, or their hearts could be used. A lot of times you have religious issues or just a lot of feelings of not being aware of how this can benefit. What would you tell the general population about transplantation so that they can actively help someone?
So the first thing I would tell the general population is this: at all times, each individual and as a society, we should expect an individual's cultural beliefs, persuasions, tenets. It's very important, particularly in a country like ours, where we exercise our tolerance in all respects and at all times. And if tolerance for someone's culture means that they are not receptive to this request, we should respect that. It's a very delicate time in life, even though it's the end of life. It's a very difficult time for significant others, and so we want to be very respectful of that experience. Now, beyond that, if an individual has listened to this kind of dialogue, has digested this emotionally and conceptually, then that person should exercise the following strategy. Let somebody know. Tell the person who is closest to you, these are my feelings. And if your feeling is to be an organ donor, if you get to that point in time, and obviously can't speak for yourself, be certain that someone knows that that is your choice, because that is the best way that we can move forward, that is, have more donor organs available. It's been estimated that theoretically as many as 5,000 hearts could be available in this country on an annual basis. But so many times we literally are burying good organs, hearts, kidneys, livers, lungs, the whole gamut, because that critical conversation between a young adult or middle-aged adult and a significant other hasn't happened. So I would encourage anyone listening to this, if they take these messages to heart and it's something consistent with their own beliefs, their own spiritual being, their own cultural being, to simply converse with others. Let me just give you one other thought about the whole sphere of transplantation. That was and is our most practically available means of replacing permanently damaged heart muscle. But in the future, it may not be our only means. We're moving forward with smaller devices called left ventricular assist systems that can be implanted and are implanted on a regular basis in this country now as a bridge to transplant. They're beginning to be implanted as permanent therapy for people with, again, permanently damaged heart muscles, and are sustaining life with reasonable quality. And like every other technology, as these devices get smaller and better, more sustainable and more durable, it will represent a treatment option for more and more people. So I want to make that first comment, that there are devices, small devices that take over the function of the main pumping chamber called the left ventricle, These are called left ventricular assist systems, and they work quite nicely. Not perfectly, but they work better than before. The other thing I will tell you is that we're right on the cusp, right on the verge of better understanding the biology of the heart itself. And it may be that we actually can generate more heart muscle. That means using stem cells derived from self primarily, but using other cells that we can, in the lab, convince them to become stem cells again. That is, we can take skin cells and get them to become stem cells again, and then implant those cells and get those cells to make heart tissue. This is not the Jetsons. This is not pie in the sky stuff. Real research is going on as we speak, and that research is progressing reasonably well, that it is probably a likelihood that within our lifetime, and perhaps even within my practice lifetime, we will see the emergence of some biological strategy that will address the same population in whom we've been doing heart transplantation. So
Are you saying we can grow a heart?
well, the truth be known that there is early experimentation now that demonstrates that on the bench we can re-engineer a cadaveric heart, that is a totally dead heart, and with the right environment, the right circumstances, we can reconstitute heart muscle. Now, that's happening in very small mammals right now. How that will, or if that will ever scale to humans, we don't know. But the point of the matter is to say it's not just transplantation anymore that represents a theoretical possibility. It is only transplantation that is a real possibility. But as more of these devices come online, and that is a realistic option for many people right now.
Are you talking about like a pacemaker type
It's
of?
bigger than a pacemaker, but it's a device that takes over the pumping function of the left side of the heart. That is a real possibility right now, and these biological strategies are possibilities, I think, in maybe not the near future, but the intermediate future. So stay tuned.
We will.
Yeah.
Speaking, the best way is to prevent a heart transplant is to prevent heart disease. So can you give us 5 or 6 or however many you can think of ways that we can keep our heart healthy so that we don't need a heart transplant?
So I've been waiting for you to get to this
Yes.
point. This is where I wanted to go. Because I really think it's the most important message. Because as much as we are enthused with technology, technology costs money. And because the technology many times is so complex and so consumptive of resources, we can't be as broad in the deployment or in the use of the technologies. We have to be selective. That means some get, some don't. And that always is disturbing when that occurs. But what we can be broad about and what everyone can access is a prevention strategy. So here are the things that I think are the key to preventing heart disease. High blood pressure. High blood pressure is implicated in at least 75% or more of cases where someone's heart has failed. It is intuitive and it is a fact that if we treat high blood pressure effectively early on, we can halt and forestall the development of heart disease, and we can probably eradicate stroke. That's a very powerful comment, and I stand behind that. If we can treat high blood pressure effectively early on, we can probably eradicate stroke. Now, to take it one step further, what would happen if we could prevent the onset of high blood pressure? Not just detecting it and treating it when it's there, but really impact the onset of high blood pressure. That is possible with a very simple strategy. It turns out that weight increases in blood pressure track and follow each other similarly. So in the very young adult, the adolescent, the teenager, if we can convince them of how important it is to maintain an appropriate weight for height, we can delay, maybe even prevent the onset of high blood pressure. Family history is family history, genes are genes, and some people are predisposed to have these problems. But so many more people get to the point of high blood pressure because it's driven by lifestyle choices, physical inactivity, diet, etc. So high blood pressure is big on my agenda as a target to prevent heart disease. The second thing is diet. Can we control our dietary intake in a heart healthy manner? Low in saturated fats, 0 for trans fats, high in fiber, high in fruit, high in vegetables. An excellent way to, again, alter the likelihood of